I would like to appeal to your analytical mind when we are exploring these concepts, as they are allegorical and symbolic. These ideas were foundational concepts, and like any construction, there is a blueprint. Understanding such, this house has to be deconstructed brick by brick, not renamed but completely removed. There are certain pillars that uphold this civilization, a civilization that is based on never-ending consumption. It consumes your life, your time, your energy, everything, and it makes you a subscriber to the human experience as it seeks to enslave you. It is of my opinion that it is a farm and unnatural to the human experience. However, humans have always built systems through the recognition of patterns. If we are to envision WS as a house, there are 4 pillars that I have identified that uphold white supremacy, 4 walls that must be broken down, and 4 windows that must be closed. There is a gate that serves 2 purposes and a door that is bigger on the outside but narrow within. Race theory, racism, is the foundation of this house. The belief that the white race is superior to the black race. The belief that the black race is inferior and subhuman, primitive, primal, savage, uncivilized, and that the WR is the next stage of evolution or truly human. The 4 pillars are as follows. Religion, mythology. The WS practice an ethno-religion and have an identity tied to that religion, as many of their beliefs involve the use of religion to justify cruel acts of dehumanization. They aren't practicing the religion, but a form they have tailored specifically to cater to their spiritual, moral, social, and religious needs, even if they don't adhere to the principles. Culture/identity. The WS have created identities, classifications, to create an environment where divisive click-word contexts serve to dissociate oneself from another and their environment. It fosters a corrupt element of tribalism taken to an extreme. It's a system of models, of classifications, abstractions used to deduce one's symbolic mind to associate someone as good, innocent, angelic, or chosen, and the other as evil, bad, guilty, savage, and demonic. The worldview is expressed through white society's social consciousness, culture, through art, science, usage of technology, etc. Culture is a medium of expression for a society, an imaginary fixed value that is religious. Conquest, imperialism. The WS have used various means to justify brutal conquests. This is where the house is divided. One believes it is their right to conquest via subjugation because they are superior, and thus the other races should either serve them or be eradicated. The other believes it is their right to conquest via diplomacy, and that other cultures are inferior and should adopt the culture and assimilate, integrate into theirs. Both believe in white supremacy, they just disagree with the routes one should take to achieve it. The scary other and the white man's burden has led to countless acts of violence. Collaboration/division. The WS utilize collaborators to enact multiple layers of division in places they have colonized and occupied. It requires a collective agreement internally that is driven by anxiety, whether it is the fear of retribution, a Haiti, or the fear of replacement via absorption or miscegenation, Brazil, while ironically doing the same to indigenous populations. There's diagonal, vertical, and horizontal collaboration. We see this process taking place in Europe before European powers began to expand. Without collaboration via internal and external means, there is no movement of the people. These pillars uphold WS, and it has social consequences if they aren't treated as sacred. The 4 walls of this house are fear. At the root of WS is an extreme fear, whether it be guilt, retribution, judgment, the unknown or others, etc. It is fueled by a deep-seated fear. Colonizers, shock occupiers exist in a constant state of anxiety. The elites of these societies sometimes stroke the underlying fears of WS to garner power and push their agendas. This door is also one of the windows, as it acts as a peephole or the window on the door of the house. It is limited in its capacity to see the bigger pictures. Moral distortion. Opposite to fear is the moral distortions used to justify the inhumane acts. Race theory in this context acts as a tool to dehumanize others, enabling the WS to use extreme measures against another person. It causes many to be blind and not empathize or have compassion as the society violently pillages the other. White purity. Adjacent to fear and moral distortion is the WP wall. This wall is created to enforce and maintain white purity. Whiteness must be maintained as it is a pyramidical way of thinking, even when it is shared, as they see it as a spectrum, and the radius or center of this circle are those who are pure white, and it delineates from the center to the arc as it takes on many, many forms culturally. One of the biggest fears of the WS is being usurped or racially cucked. What I mean by this is they fear being absorbed by populations that can easily overwhelm them. It is the source of many of their anxieties, as it is an extension of guilt and fear of retribution. It is the thief who fears being robbed. Violence. Adjacent to fear and WP, this wall acts as a defensive barrier for the subscriber, but as a means of control of the other. Violence, whether it be psychological, emotional, sexual, or physical, are all reactions to the fears the WS has. This wall is decorated with countless massacres and genocides. Each of the walls have a window with curtains that can be closed or open. Fear. Fear of being subjected to the same treatment, judged, or eradicated. This curtain is closed when the morality of violence is questioned. We are made to see this fear through some lens of unequal justification. Should have just listened or followed orders. It's not different than the "see what you made me do." This window is used to blame shift. This window is on the wall of fear, which bears the door of WS. Guilt. Guilt is a window that all acknowledge is there, but only fear see it for what it is. Many are defensive. This window is closed when it is time to enjoy the spoils of war, which are the socio-racial privileges that comes from being white in white societies. This window often has heavy curtains that are difficult to pull aside, as the deep internal struggle with one's own identity and its historical implications are hard to detach from. This window is on the wall of moral distortion. Shame. This is the only window that can be locked. The feelings of shame in white society have different levels of acknowledgement. It is either tightly shut or open slightly, alternating between denials, justifications, and acknowledgement of racially inspired acts of dehumanizations. This window is located on the wall of WP. Anger. Anger borders the wall of violence, and it is the paranoia and vigilance against perceived threats to the white identity and white supremacy. This window is masked with a coat of perceived threats. The door of this house is bigger on the outside, but narrow within, as it functions to clarify who is and isn't purely white. It is flexible because the door appears larger on the outside, by telling others they can be accepted into the white identity. However, it is narrow within, because that acceptance and equality are much more restricted. Outside the house but within the gate are all the collaborators, the believers, the ones deemed tainted. The gate can allow the identity to stretch to include or exclude who is classified as white, depending on the current LEPS needs. This flexibility allows for a shifting definition of whiteness that can adapt to maintain power structures. Groups like Italians, Irish, and Jews, etc., were not considered truly white until it became politically or socially convenient to include them. In the center of this house sits the altar. It carries the greatest weapon the WS have ever invented. It is the holy water of whitewashing to absolve the sins. When splashed on the others, it lies to them, telling them that they are white now, that whiteness can be shared and enjoyed by those who choose to enjoy it and share it with others. It is the greatest weapon they have ever deployed on the minds of the occupied, colonized, and subjugated. It is the gift that is promised to the collaborators. It is what they have deployed on history in various terms: people, civilizations, cultures, and societies, etc. This real altar in their minds is the blood and is truly inaccessible. It must not be corrupted. It can be shared, but it is not longer pure. The mystery religion of white society has always used underlying Christian elements or biblical themes to justify their actions. If we were to treat the ethno-religion as a tenet or doctrine to followers of white supremacy, its intertwined effects in why some believe it fervently can be seen. The doctrine of race theory, the mythology and origin stories, the sacred texts and holy figures that are venerated, the rituals and practices seen through the ceremonious gatherings of rallies, marches, lynches, etc., that serve to reinforce beliefs and act as a medium of cultural expression to the social order. There was symbols and religious attire and initiation through reinforcements. The community was historically exclusive and boundary race with organizational hierarchy, and it had a mission mixed with evangelism. The adoption of a victimhood narrative or that of conqueror gives martyrdom to those who died upholding these ideas. The preservation, well-being, and advancement of the white race at the expense of others and the avoidance of miscengation all points towards some greater social cause. Christian identity adherents believe that white people, particularly those of Anglo-Saxon, Celtic, Scandinavian, Germanic, and related descent, consider themselves God's chosen people, with this belief being radicalized to greater heights with the racist two seeds doctrine. Many adherents believe in an imminent apocalyptic battle between the forces of good and evil, or a race war, to end it all. Biblical themes and elements are featured as Christianity is manipulated into fitting the frames they need it to. The curse of Ham, the apocalypse, slave master morality, the chosen people, Phineas priesthood, seed of Satan, etc. This mystery, ethno-religion, is white supremacy itself. It uses Christian identity and religion as a guise, much like the hoods of the KKK, to hide its true beliefs and tenets.